Ladies and gentlemen, this is not the first time the Minneapolis police has been sued for a similar restraint that you saw done on George Floyd. They actually did the same thing 10 years ago on a different man, and they also used the knee. So this came out on NPR May 29th, 2020. Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin was charged today with third-degree murder and manslaughter in the death of George Floyd. Video of Chauvin, who is white, with his knee in the neck of Floyd, who is black, has caused days of protest and rioting in the Twin City and other communities across the country. Well, it looked like it has spread to more cities from what I see tonight.
Charging documents against Officer Chauvin say an autopsy of George Floyd showed that the effects of being restrained by police likely contributed to his death. In recent years, many police departments have trained officers to be alert to the risks of restraining people face down just like this. And as NPR's Martin Costi reports, the Minneapolis Police Department has been here before.
10 years ago, a report of a 28-year-old black man acting strangely brought Minneapolis officers to a YMCA. There they subdued and agitated David Smith, tasing him, then cuffing him face down on the hardwood of a basketball court. One officer captured the scene on a personal camera. They kept him face down, a knee to the back, even after he stopped responding.
You gonna talk to us, man? Hey, you gonna talk to us? What's wrong with you?
He died a few days later. Minneapolis settled for $3 million. Bob Bennett was the lawyer on the case, and he says the Minneapolis Police Department also promised at the time to do more training for officers in how to restrain people safely. That's why it was such a shock to him to see this video of what happened to George Floyd on Monday.
I actually thought I was watching the same activity. The parallels were so stark.
Bennett assumed the Minneapolis department did the extra training, but now he can't be sure. There has been more emphasis nationally on teaching cops about the dangers of restraining suspects face down, especially in the years after the death of Eric Garner, whose words, "I can't breathe," became a rallying cry for police reform. A lot of police are on Twitter and other social media right now talking about how they were trained never to do what was done to Floyd. Jack Ryan, a retired police captain who trains officers around the country, posted this video reminder for officers.
We ought to have stamped, maybe a tattoo on the back of our hand, that as soon as the person is subdued or restrained, then get off them, get them into an upright position or on their side to facilitate breathing.
But Ryan says this message has been muddied in recent years because of dueling studies about positional asphyxia. That's the idea that holding a suspect in a certain position too long can smother him. Some courts have rejected this idea, and one police academy trainer told NPR that he tells his cadets that positional asphyxia has been, quote, debunked. Given this debate and the decentralized nature of American policing, there just isn't a clear national rule about this.
Part of the problem is lack of centralized specific guidance, but I don't think that's the entire problem.
Seth Stoughton is a former cop. Now he's at the University of South Carolina Law School, where he specializes in the use of force by police.
I think part of the problem is also a very strong cultural resistance to criticizing other cops.
He says you can see that in the video from Monday, as an officer stands by and says nothing to the colleague who's pressing his knee into Floyd's neck. Walter Katz, an expert in police oversight and reform, agrees. And what's shocking to him in the video is the officer's apparent indifference to the complaints from bystanders.
People were yelling at him as to what he was doing, and he continued to do so. To me, that is not a training issue. To me, that is a reflection of a culture issue.
Katz says attitudes like this undermine the effort to reform American police.
If there is a belief that some members of the community deserve less dignity than others, these types of things will keep on happening.
He thinks as long as there are officers with this mentality, and as long as they feel their colleagues will cover for them, then tactics and training are almost beside the point. Martin Costi, NPR News.
Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on today? And I get sick of hearing that over and over. This ain't no training issue. It's not. It's a cultural problem. And I said this in my other video. Within the police force, you got too many infiltrated white supremacists on these forces. And that being said, as long as they're able to coexist on the police force, you are never going to see better policing in America. It's impossible to see it. Now, the FBI did acknowledge that the police forces have been infiltrated, but they've never done anything about it. They never went that extra step to try to change the culture. And the only way you can do that is start eliminating these people from the police force. But at this point, we know they're never going to do that. I mean, the only thing they did was put a report out, and it never went beyond that. So it tells me that America is satisfied with the conduct of their police. And you got some that go overboard because they've been used to doing this. And as I stated before in my video on Amy Klobuchar, she knew who this dude was, this Derek Chauvin, and she let him off the hook when she was DA. And she's now coming under a lot of fire for her lack of prosecuting cops. Remember, when she was the chief DA, not one cop was prosecuted. And she was the DA between 1999 and 2006. Not one police officer during that entire time was prosecuted. There were police shootings. There were people that got harassed and beaten by the police. And Amy Klobuchar chose to do nothing. That's the kind of DA she was. And this is the kind of person that Joe Biden is vetting to be vice president. And I was looking out there today, and there are multiple articles telling Joe Biden to back away from Amy Klobuchar. She is not the right one to pick for VP. She's not really fit to be a Senate when you look at her track record. She believed in tough on crime, but the problem is it was just tough on crime in the Black neighborhood. You know, that's the only time they want to talk about tough on crime, just in general in this country. That is specifically for the Black neighborhood. They have a certain attitude and certain way they choose to treat Black folks in this country. And they never want to deviate from that. They feel like whenever they're dealing with us, they have to deal with us harshly. And this has been an ongoing thing in America since they had police from the very beginning when they were the slave patrol. And they have never stopped treating us harshly. And we are very clearly treated differently from everyone else. We have seen so many incidents. It's undeniable. But this is the culture that they want in America. You don't see any politicians changing this. And remember, Minneapolis have a Democratic mayor, and look at what's happening in their city to Black folks. And they did admit there is a serious problem between these cops and the Black community in Minneapolis. Remember, a Democratic mayor. Life is actually worse for Black people in Democratic states, in Democratic communities. It's worse for us there. These Democratic mayors and senators and Congress people, they want these cops to continue to keep their foot on our necks. This is the way they want it. See, in front of you, they're all about, oh, let's come together. Let's vote. Let's do this. Let's do that. And behind the scenes, they are just the same typical run-of-the-mill white supremacists up in America. You can't trust anybody in the Democratic Party. You can't trust Republicans. Neither one has done right by us. We should not be devoting anything to either party. You know, I'm just one that don't believe in voting for any evil. That's why I don't like when people sit around me and they talk about voting for the less of two evil. How about voting for no evil? Okay, how about not vote? If both candidates are evil, don't vote for them. And when you look at Joe Biden and look at Trump, why swap out one racist for another? Just keep the one you already got. But Minneapolis, this is an example of one of many police departments in America. And even after this is said and done and it blows over, the culture in the country will never change. And that is one consistent thing they have showed us all throughout history. They have never made any drastic changes to policing, and they will never do it. They will never do this. So it is a joke when they talk to the community. The police chief talked to the community after these lynchings on Black men and try to tell us, oh, there's going to be an investigation. We already know cops investigating themselves. They are going to always not find anything wrong. Oh, we're going to be transparent. Police departments in America have never been transparent. Okay. These are just things to pacify the public. But at the end of the day, they have no intention on punishing none of these cops if they can avoid it. They're not going to punish them, y'all. Okay? If they were really sincere, think about this. They would have put all 4 of those cops in handcuffs and arrested them. Why one and not the others? They were accessories. You had 2 other cops holding him down while one cop put his knee in his neck and the other one was a lookout to make sure nobody from that crowd came over there. And each one of those cops all got a horrible track record. But they keep them on the force. You know, we all want police to be accountable, but this government don't want to hold them accountable. And that's been that's been the root of the problem all along. You know, if you want things to change, you're going to have to change some of these people that are in these positions of power, and they won't do anything to change the police culture. But even something like that would take a while. But the bottom line is, ladies and gentlemen, be careful out there. Be careful. What happened in Minneapolis happens everywhere in America. You know, people are out there all over the country protesting because folks are fed up with the cops and they're tired of the harsh treatment that comes from policing in America. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.